Welcome back to Totally Based. I'm Joey Gaskin. The House of Representatives just passed a bill to ban TikTok, which, on the surface, sounds like it should be a good thing. But of course, we have to protect our data from China. But what could this mean potentially for future outcomes? Also, former colleagues Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon are making headlines, with Chris signing a deal with Valuetainment and Don losing his partnership with X and running the CNN to tell about it. We'll also talk about pop singer Olivia Rodrigo, who's hitting the road for her Guts World Tour, where fans will get free abortion resources. And later on, Pearly Things offers the Daily Wire a free brand consultation after Ben Shapiro goes viral for wanting to raise the retirement age. We'll discuss all of that and more coming up next, here on Totally Based. So, as you may have heard, this week the House passed a 352-65 vote to ban TikTok. If passed in the Senate, this bill will give TikTok about 5 months to separate from its Chinese parent company ByteDance, which would also mean that app stores in the US would be banned from hosting it on their platforms. Now, the reason for this ban comes from concerns that TikTok is a national security threat because the Chinese government could force the company to share its data of US app users. There have also been concerns regarding China's influence over the algorithm and moderation of the app and how that could be used to manipulate information and to normalize degeneracy. And that all sounds perfectly reasonable until one takes a much closer look. You see, this bill is not about protecting your safety or your data, and it's certainly not about protecting the values and culture of America. This bill is really about censorship, and if passed, it would give the president the power to ban websites, not just apps. Now, there is a caveat. In order for the rules in this bill to apply, an owner of the company has to at least have a 20% stake in the company and be beholden to a foreign adversary country. Now, the list of foreign adversary countries are North Korea, Russia, China, and Iran. However, there's also a section where it can apply to a person who's subject to the direction or control of a foreign person or entity. So at a minimum, it begs to ask the question, can this so-called list of countries be updated with other countries? Also, what criteria is needed to say whether or not someone's being controlled or directed by a person or entity? And who gets to decide that? After all, this could very well lead to removal of apps like X or platforms like Rumble. And speaking of Rumble, Rumble actually made an offer this week to acquire TikTok, and so did former U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, who I have my own questions about because he himself has said he wants to put more money in Israeli tech, and that's not at all America first. So we'll have to see where this goes, but my hope is to see TikTok end up in the hands of the Patriots. But before we go any further, if you want more content like this video, ring that notification bell, and don't forget to subscribe and follow for more. Now for the latest on Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon. Patrick Bet-David's Valuetainment announced this week that veteran news anchor Chris Cuomo will be joining their team as a talent partner. And ironically, at the same time, Don Lemon somehow loses his partnership deal with X. But first, I just want to remind you guys of the super cringe we all used to feel watching their fake news segments. Take a look.
I'm glad you mentioned about being shot by cops because you cannot compare this, and I'm sick of people comparing. You can't compare what happened this summer to what happened at the Capitol. It's two different things. One was built on people, on racial justice, on criminal justice, right? On reform, on police not beating up or not or police treating people of color differently than they do whites. Okay, that is not a lie. Those are facts. Go look at them. What happened at the Capitol on Wednesday was built on a lie perpetrated by the president and the people who support him. So just on that merit, if you want to call it, it's not comparable. Those things are not comparable, so they should stop doing that and stop this whataboutism or what happened with this. No one has ever gone this far in saying that an election was illegitimate with all the evidence we have that this election was legitimate. Right. So I don't understand, why Ken Cuccinelli and all these people keep going. If the president, and he says, I can't imagine.
In a million years.
In a million years.
It just happened last week.
It just happened last week. If he can't imagine it, then the president should come out and say, stop it with the talk about the Capitals, right? The attacks and the protests on the Capitals. There's nothing to protest. It was a legitimate election. Stop it with saying the election was fair and square. There's nothing to protest. Everyone go home. Don't come out and protest. Don't come out and riot. You shouldn't have done what you did on Wednesday. We're against that. This is not what this movement is about. Has he said all that? No, he didn't. He didn't tell people not to come out.
Nope.
So he can't imagine a million years. Good luck with what happened.
Now, when it comes to Chris Cuomo and Valuetainment, my immediate reaction was, why? I guess we all should have seen it coming considering the fact that he was recently on the show with Candace Owens. But again, why does Valuetainment need Chris Cuomo? And based on their viewership, who even likes the guy? I mean, those are all honest questions. Come on now, this is the same guy who pushed election fraud and Russia, and the mostly peaceful protests with the BLM riots. You remember that? Even J6 and the COVID jab, and told you to wear a mask while not doing it himself. And this is somehow their first round draft pick? I just don't get it. I mean, it took me about a year to stomach Adam Sosnick. Now you bring in Chris Cuomo? Now, I knew I wouldn't be the only one who felt this way. Tim Pool of Timcast actually went on X and he posted this, saying, huge F up. Chris Cuomo faked being in COVID lockdown. His brother is a murderer. No redemption arc. PBD goes CNN is very disappointing. And to me, he's right. But David replied saying this, Tim, I trust capitalism. One of these days, the market will wake up and realize what our vision was all along. I'm extremely comfortable being misunderstood before the market validates our vision. I respect your impatience with our vision. In the meantime, keep kicking ass. I.e., future looks bright. I have to say, I respect PBD, and if he thinks that Cuomo offers some value, then I respect his decision. But like with Adam, it may take me a year or two to get there. Now, I find it rather interesting that in the same week, Chris and Don are trending at the same time, because Don Lemon announced his partnership with X back at the beginning of the year. And oddly enough, he was welcomed to the platform with open arms by Elon and Tucker Carlson. Tucker even greeted him by saying, congratulations, it's a new world, welcome. And even in Don's announcement, he states that X is the biggest space for free speech in the world. And now more than ever, we need a place for honest debate and discussion without the hall monitors. And so I find it funny because Don's first interview was with Elon Musk. And this is part of what happened. Take a look.
I don't have to answer questions from reporters. Don, the only reason I'm doing this interview is because you're on the X platform and you asked for it. Otherwise, I would not do this interview.
So after this interview, Elon Musk cancels Don's partnership with X. And in true Don fashion, Don runs to the hall monitors at CNN and tells them that Elon's rhetoric is offensive and it's responsible for mass shootings. Now, this is the same guy who says he cares so much about free speech. Take a listen.
Joining me exclusively out front is Don Lemon. So Don, you do this 90-minute long interview with Musk. You sit down with him. This is the culmination. He had actively courted you to come on. One of his tweets, have you considered doing your show on this platform? Maybe worth a try. Audience is much bigger. It had been public. Then you had reached a deal. I'll talk about that later. Then he texts 24 hours after this 90-minute long interview, which is the first of your show launching. He says, contract is canceled. What happened?
Yeah. First of all, it's good to see you, Aaron. Thank you for having me on. That's a good question for Elon Musk, quite frankly, what happened. I don't know. As I said in my statement, I felt really good about the interview. I said to him as we were doing the interview, and it was tense at moments, but you've been involved in tense interviews. Yep. I said to him, I think it's good that people see folks like you and I who have different worldviews come together and talk, as he says, have free speech. Free speech is only important when someone you don't like, or I would say someone who doesn't have your same point of view, or someone is, if they're allowed to speak freely and to say their point of view. Apparently that doesn't matter to Elon Musk. It's just for maybe talking points for him or rhetoric, because it doesn't seem to matter when it's about him, questions about him from people like me.
Illuminating in so many ways. All right, I have two things I want to ask you about that, Don. First, the great replacement theory. Right. As you bring it up, he has tweeted, a tweet he shared, increasing illegals boost Dem voting power, causing them to recruit more. Mm-hmm. If Dems win President, House, and Senate, they'll grant citizenship to all illegals, and America will become a permanent one-party deep socialist state. Right? He has gone there directly. How much does he stand by these ideas?
Well, he didn't quite seem to understand that he did, originally he did that with Jewish people, sort of a great replacement theory thing that he did with Jewish people, and he got in trouble and he had to go to Auschwitz and answer questions and apologize and go with Ben Shapiro. But he doesn't understand that sort of rhetoric that he talks about, the great replacement theory and migrant invasion, that's what radicalized shooters use in their manifestos, those exact words. The people who go and shoot up people, whether they be Latino people who live in Texas or black people who are in a supermarket in Buffalo, or Jewish people who are worshiping, those people use the same rhetoric, that they are tropes, that they're either racist for Latinos or black people or for Jewish people. And I wanted to know if he felt any responsibility as someone who has one of the largest social media and information platforms in the world.
250 million people.
250 million people. I think it's 455 or 500 million users a week. And it doesn't seem that he feels that he has any responsibility with that, because he seemed really averse to facts.
Now, that clip that you saw of the interview with Elon is just a teaser from his show, which airs on Monday, which to me says the whole thing is a ploy to get you to watch. The guy is desperate. Nobody cares to watch his show, and it's mostly because of drama like this, which is the same reason why he got fired from CNN in the first place. We all remember what took place with him and Vivek. But in case you forgot, take a look.
The part that I find insulting is when you say today black Americans don't have those rights after we have gone through civil rights revolution in this country.
You are sitting here telling an African American about the rights and what you find insulting about the way I live, the skin I live in every day.
Here's where you and I have
the
a different point of view.
Black and white that black people don't have in this country, and that black people do have.
Well, here's where you and I have a different point of view. I think we should be able to express our views regardless of the color of our skin. We should have this debate
I'm not saying you
without me regarding you as a black man,
but
me regarding you as a fellow citizen. That's what I think.
Here, whatever ethnicity you are, explaining to me
whatever ethnicity
about
I'm,
what it's like to be black.
Whatever
in America.
ethnicity I'm, I'll tell you what I am. I'm an Indian American. I'm proud of it. But I think we should have this debate. Black, white doesn't matter.
I think we should have this
on
debate.
The content of the ideas.
If you're going to do it, you should do it in an honest way and in a fair way. And what you're doing is not an honest and fair way. Okay? But we appreciate you coming on.
With due respect, Don, I look forward to continuing that conversation.
Thank you. The conversation.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Pop.
Yeah, so when it comes to Don, things pretty much turned out as we expected. And as for Cuomo, all I can do is hope that PBD has a 90-day review in that contract. But moving forward, have you guys heard of Disney actress and pop star Olivia Rodrigo? Well, she is embarking on her world tour to promote her album, Guts, and she is teaming up with Missouri's Abortions Fund to do so. So all of her fans, all of her adoring fans who attend her shows, they will get free Plan B pills, condoms, and abortion resources. I kid you not.
Hey guys, it's Olivia. I'm so excited that tonight is the very first show of the Guts World Tour. And before I pop on stage, I wanted to come on here and talk about something that I'm really excited about, which is the Fund for Good, which is an initiative that I'm launching as part of the Guts World Tour. The Fund for Good works to support all women, girls, and people seeking reproductive health freedom. The fund will directly support community-based nonprofits that champion things like girls' education, support reproductive rights, and prevent gender-based violence. A portion of all of the proceeds from the ticket sales of the Guts World Tour will go to the Fund for Good, which I'm very excited about. And for the North American leg of the Guts World Tour, I'll be partnering with the National Network of Abortion Funds to help those impacted by healthcare barriers in getting the reproductive care they deserve. To learn more about reproductive health resources and how you can help, visit abortionfunds.org.
Every one of her loving fans will get a package that looks like this, with cute and fun stickers that makes it fun to fund abortion. Olivia claims to be a vocal advocate for women's reproductive rights, and she's even promoted an initiative called Fund for Good at her St. Louis show, where a portion of the sales will go to Missouri's Abortion Fund and Text Right By You, which is an organization that educates on abortion. And as for her other shows, a portion of the sales will go to the National Network of Abortion Funds. So to be clear, her world tour and her fans will be funding the termination of pregnancies worldwide. How ironic. A woman is meant to give birth, to be the giver of life. And Olivia, who is only 21 and not yet a mother, is touring the world to influence young girls to deny their biological purpose and to, in fact, terminate their pregnancies while collectively raising the funds to do it. I really don't know which is worse, the act of terminating these pregnancies or the fact that someone is profiting off of it. To me, this story is just evidence of how far gone things have gotten in this world. They teach our daughters to be feminists, to think that they don't need men, and that promiscuity is their strength and their power, which couldn't be any further from the truth. And you know what? I keep seeing all of these videos of women saying that they are the prize. But ladies, let me let you in on a little secret. Lean in a little closer. Chastity is the prize. Self-respect is the prize. These are the qualities that will keep a man, because if you know your worth, then he will too. Do you want to be someone's wife or do you want to be someone's dirty harlot? No good father wants his daughter to be treated like someone's garbage. He wants her to meet a man who loves her, who protects her, and cherishes her. But if she has no value, what is there to love? What is there to protect? What is even left to cherish? This whole idea of female empowerment and women's liberation is so false. It's antichrist. It's self-serving. It's a lie. And if you're a young girl and you're listening to this and you're pregnant or you're okay with sleeping around, if you want to be empowered, if you really want to be empowered, I would ask you to have the guts to have that baby, to be a mom and to not run away from that situation, to have the guts to walk away from a relationship where a guy wants to just have casual sex and he doesn't see you as anything more. In my opinion, those things take guts. You know what doesn't take guts? Having a plan B, taking a pill to make it all go away, We all know that's the easy way out. Moving on to more debatable topics. You guys, I really like Pearly Things. And if you haven't heard of Pearl, you're probably living under a rock. And what I like about Pearl is that she likes to keep it real. In fact, she went online this week to offer the Daily Wire a free brand consultation after Ben Shapiro went viral for making a statement about the retirement age and how it should be raised. Take a listen to what he had to say.
It's insane that we haven't raised the retirement age in the United States. It's totally crazy. Joe Biden, if that were the case, Joe Biden should not be running for president. Hey, Joe Biden is 81 years old. The retirement age in the United States at which you start to receive Social Security and you are eligible for Medicare is 65. Joe Biden has technically been eligible for Social Security and Medicare for 16 years, and he wants to continue in office until he is 86, which is 19 years past when he would be eligible for retirement. No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea unless you have some sort of health problem. Everybody that I know who is elderly, who has retired, is dead within 5 years. And if you talk to people who are elderly and they lose their purpose in life by losing their job and they stop working, things go to hell in a handbasket real quick. But put all of that aside, just on a fiscal level and on a logical level. When Franklin Delano Roosevelt established 65 as the retirement age, the average life expectancy in the United States was 63 years old. Today, the average life expectancy in the United States is close to 80. It's totally insane that you believe that you should be able to work from the time that you are essentially 20 to the time that you are 65, which is a 45-year period, pay in, and then you will receive Social Security benefits sufficient to support you and your family, you and your wife or whatever, for like another 20 years. That's crazy talk.
So you seen that, you heard that. Does that remind you of anyone? Maybe sound like a past candidate that you might know? How about this one?
We change retirement age to reflect life expectancy. Instead of cost of living increases, we do it based on inflation. We limit the benefits on the wealthy, and we expand Medicare Advantage plans.
What's the right age there then, Ambassador?
Well, I think we have to do the numbers. We've got to figure out what it is. But what we do know is 65 is way too low, and we need to increase that. We need to do it according to life expectancy.
That's right. Nikki Haley. And if I remember correctly, she said the same things that Ben said when it came to going to war for Israel. So take a listen to Pearl's free advice.
So I saw a clip of Ben Shapiro going viral for saying that people should not retire at 65. And out of the kindness of my heart, I am going to offer some free consulting to the Daily Wire. Pearl's just, you guys fired me, but I'll still give you guys some consulting. So, my 2 cents. The Daily Wire keeps having clips that go viral that keep showing they're out of touch. Now, their response, I think, is like, oh, we built this really big business. It was hard. Totally. You guys are very, very smart. But when you guys say, we built this business from scratch and it was worth $200 million, you're kind of proving even more why you're out of touch. That's not an experience, the middle class working American men or women will go through. And I think as conservatives, we get frustrated, right? Because the left is always saying, you guys' background, like they'll always say privileged white men, they say the same thing to me, right? But I'm going to give them saying it's a fair argument. Most of the people in their position can't really relate to the construction worker on the street. The average guy that works $45,000 a year maybe caps out at 55 in his 50s, 60s. It's easy to say retirement. We shouldn't retire when we have the best jobs on the planet. I have so much fun doing this. I would do it for free. They demonetized me and I'm still doing it. I'm losing money doing this, okay? It's funny. So, not trying to make it about me like a woman. What I think the Daily Wire should do, because instead of just complaining, I'm going to give you guys a solution. Pearl's so nice. I think you guys should spend a day in family court And you guys should spend a day going and talking to like middle-class Americans about some of the issues. Because, you know, maybe they do. If they do, it hasn't gone viral. I haven't seen it. But I've never really seen them, you know, down in middle-class America. I've seen them dunk on college kids. I've seen them dunk on leftists. But what I'd really like to see as a viewer is really some more conversations between them and middle-class Americans, because sometimes when they talk, it comes off as very like elitist. And I don't say this with malice. I just say this the way it comes across. I'm not a Social Security expert, so please don't. I'm not a retirement expert. I don't really have an opinion on that stuff. I'm just saying how it comes across when these clips go viral to the public, and I don't think they mean it to come across that way. So, you know, you're welcome. Pearl Consulting, sign up, you know, send a Venmo. I'll consult for you for free.
Now, Pearl's arguing that the Daily Wire's biggest problem is that they are out of touch with middle-class Americans. And I don't think she's completely wrong. But I felt like there was another piece of feedback that wasn't mentioned. And so I replied saying this. I think the biggest issue for the Daily Wire is that their content mainly speaks to a white upper-class audience. And I would even say middle class too. And that's not a dig. It's just an observation. Without Candace, all of their shows would pretty much be the same. Now, let me say this. This is not a DEI push. Diversity is not a bad thing. It's only a bad thing when they try to make it a requirement for hiring someone. However, in the case with the Daily Wire, if you remove Candace, what are you left with? You're left with Ben Shapiro. You're left with Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, Andrew Klavan, Jordan Peterson, Jeremy Boring, Crane and Company, which is 3 white men. And then you're left with Brett Cooper. Now, with Candace included, that's 9 white men, 1 black woman, and 1 white woman. And to be clear, this is not about race. This is about marketing demographics. This is about relatability and mainly speaking to the most efficient area of culture, which is black culture, which is, to me, is probably the most pervasive. Outside of Candace, which of these people have the ability to relate to young black, Hispanic, or Asian people? You know, I'm sure to some degree they do, but as a main avatar, I doubt it. You know, and I'm just saying there's room for a lot more. Because when you say culture, like, who do you think of? What names and faces come to your mind? I mean, look at who just performed at the Super Bowl, you know, or the time before that. I hate to say it like this, but Candace is basically the diversity hire, you know, and I'm just saying they need more talent like Candace. And I'm not specifically saying someone who's black, but I am saying someone who can pull the same attention as the names and faces that you just thought about. So those are my thoughts. Feel free to chime in below. I still love you guys at the Daily Wire. This is just what I call feedback. Hopefully you view it as respectful. So did you like that video? Well, if you did, you can always find more like it here. And as always, stay tuned for more news, culture, and politics here on Totally Based.